Y'all know I like to jump right into my video, so to get this look, keep watching. So the first thing we're gonna do is get some 4D Developer Clear. That's the liquid developer, and some BW2. You wanna make sure you get the liquid developer because this is the updated version of our bleach bath. So you're gonna use some Royal Navy in Adore or any blue color to add to this BW2, because you know BW2 is white. It makes your color a little brassy, a little orange. So this is going to fight some of that orange that we would get with our base color. So I did 4 scoops, and I'm gonna match it with, well, I thought I was gonna show y'all. I matched it with 8 scoops of developer. Oh, there it is. Sorry. But I did 8 scoops here of developer. I think I end up adding a little bit more to make the consistency a little watery, because this is not like an exact formula, but we want to try to get as close as we can for this to be effective. And then, like I said, we're going to add the Adore blue so we can fight some brassiness at the same time that we're lifting. So this is good for when you bleach your knots as well. So you know, lately we've been getting these big knots. BW2 is pretty strong. So adding the blue gives you a blue base, as you can see as I'm mixing it up. But what I would do different with bleach knots is that you add the Adore color first, because it's gonna make it a little runny, and you know you need a little thick, pasty consistency with knots. So now I have a tea kettle with hot water. I'm going to not submerge, but saturate the wig with hot water. So be careful, it's really, really hot. I'm sorry I mixed these clips up a little bit, but I've been trying to get this video done for y'all for the longest. But we're gonna saturate the wig to get it damped, like, you know, a little wet. So this is gonna be considered our bleach bath to dilute the potion of color that we've made. So this is what's gonna kind of dilute that potion, so we're not getting like that high lift bleach bomb we would be looking for if we were just to use 40 developer straight. As you can see, a lot of our wigs kind of have chemicals and stuff in it, so you'll see a lot of that may come out in your wig, which is fine. And then you're just gonna pour the concoction, as I like to say, of bleach and developer. Like I said, you might want it a little runny, so if you have to, it's okay. But that was the whole point of using the clear developer, because it is a liquid consistency opposed to a creamy consistency, so we can be able to saturate the wig better than we would, and use a little less water to dilute it so it can move a little faster. So this step is going to be based off the type of hair you have. So some hair, I can't remember if this is my hair or my client's hair, but some hair moves slower, some hair moves faster, because whatever chemicals may be in it or what chemicals may not be in it. So take all of that in consideration. There is no perfect formula or exact formula to this. It's like I could just give you clues, and you kind of just, not clues, but tips and techniques to help you do this with your own hair. So it's not like a definite, okay, it's going to turn out just like this. Like with color, it could, you know, come out a different way. It could turn lighter, faster, or don't turn at all, because it's not 100% virgin hair. So please keep all that in mind when you're doing these color techniques, that color is not an exact science, unfortunately. But it can be fun and it can be messy. As you can see, I'm getting that all in there, making sure I don't miss any areas to get my base down really, really well. And you're gonna let it sit. I let mine sit for about 30 minutes, but I would watch it, because it might turn in 15, just because we didn't use as much water as we usually do when it comes to this bleach bath. So I do say watch it, just to know you're getting the right color base that you would like. So I used foil, regular foil. I got this from V Hair, shout out to her. But you can make them as long as you want to. They're nice and thick. They're perfect for long hair. So I definitely suggest going to the store and getting those. So once it's done, we rinsed it. I didn't wash it. I just rinsed it really, really good. So be expecting the hair to feel like a little dry once you get it out, because we haven't conditioned it. So you want to be a little careful with the hair because it's at a fragile state. So with my highlights, I'm going to use blondie. It has 9 left, and as you can see, it's already blue based. And we're going to use that for the actual highlights. My base color, because we use so much product and we're not trying to do too much, I always use BW2 first, and then I go in with the Blind Me. So I did make 2 concoctions. I'm going to do one with 30 developer. You can do 30 or 20, whatever one you choose. And then my other one is going to be 50. Now the 50 developer is sold at Sally's, but you have to be in their program to be able to access it. Now I'm sure that other companies sell 50 developer, but I know for you to get it at Sally's, you have to be licensed to get it at Sally's. But you can do 40, but I suggest to do 2 different levels. So you could do 20 and 40, 10 and 40, 30 and 50 like I did. I could have did 20 and 50 to give dimension, but this is a way to be able to get dimension without necessarily having to go back in with, like, I know I see some people use, like, they actually use color opposed to lightener, but this is a way to get dimension, is to use 2 different type of lightening. 2 different developers to get some dimension within this brown base that we're going to have. And as you can see, I have my Olaplex sitting right there. I am going to use that. That's another pro thing. I believe I've seen it sold on Amazon and stuff like that. But Olaplex, if you don't have Olaplex to go with this 50 developer, I do not suggest it, because the developer is very, very strong and it can break the hair. So you got to remember, all these things are chemicals. So you have to be very, very careful on what you're using. And so with the Olaplex is a bond builder. So it's going to kind of help me keep the hair intact while processing. So if you don't have Olaplex for your 50 developer, I do not suggest using 50 developer, or not even Olaplex, but some type of bond builder. Because if you don't have it, your hair could break. It can, especially if you're dealing with a customer's hair, you don't want to have to replace it. So remember all these things when you're coloring hair, because again, color is not an exact science. And you may have, the vendors may change their hair. You may be doing bring your own bundle services and things like that. So you have to take that in consideration when it comes to the hair, because you don't want to have to replace the hair. So now that we have our concoctions made, I start my first 50 developer in the front, because I want those pieces to be really light in the front of the wig, regardless where I part it. So I did do the 50 developer concoction in the front first, and then that's where I wanted to sit the longest. So I did do that one strip in the front first with 50 developer. Some of the clips I needed to show you guys got either deleted or I didn't record it by accident. But if you have any questions, do not be afraid to ask in the comments. You guys let me know if there are any tips and tricks that you guys use that I can use next go around. I actually have a mentorship program now that's about $5 a month, and you'll be able to get me directly via Facebook. Because sometimes I don't get to the comments in the, in the comments of YouTube, because sometimes I don't get the notification. And yes, so you did just see me I got the ramble, I'm sorry. But I do put bleach on the foil to help with saturation. So that's a good tip or trick to use for good saturation, to make sure you're not missing any spot, is to put, and I mean, be sparing. You don't have to be, cheap or stingy with it. Put a nice amount on there so you know that the other underside is getting that getting that lightning, I just can't talk today. Getting the saturation that it needs. And like you see, I love these foils because they're huge. Like, doesn't matter the length, they work. You fold that up. You do not want to apply any heat whatsoever. It says that on the bottle, and that's something I put in the video. You guys have to read the directions of some of these color things, because that's where you go wrong, is they tell you to do one thing and you do another just because it's something that the norm has done. So I apologize for this voiceover. I've been trying to get this done forever, so this may not be my best voiceover. So please let me know if you have any questions. I will clarify anything you need for the most part, if I can, to my knowledge. I'm still learning a lot of this stuff as I go, because I just, some stuff is trial and error. I see something I like or don't like. I'm okay, next time I'll do this. So that's where this comes in. Like, granted, highlighting is about the same thing across the board, but there's so many ways to do it, and it's not a right way, it's not a wrong way, but sometimes it's a better way. So what you see me doing here is I take maybe 1 or 2 tracks, and this just goes based on how thick or thin you want your highlight. So for the most part, I just wanted them everywhere. I didn't really want precise. I wanted more of a blended look. So for the most part, you'll see me take 1 or 2 tracks at a time that I will highlight, and I will go. So if my first one was 50, I'll do the next one 30. Then the next one, I will try to rotate it so they're not all clumped up together to give me dimension all over. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, you don't have to do it exactly like me or anything. Like, this is something you can free. This is where your creativity comes to. Like, where, like, you know how they say, I'm an artist and I'm creative about my stuff. This is where that comes into play. You can do whatever you want to do. Like, you don't have to do exactly what I'm doing. This is just the way I do it to give you a base on, like, somebody made, and this goes into not really want to have custom or pre-made wigs, because like I had somebody want me to remake it, and then she's like, oh, I wanted more color in the front. So the expectation wasn't there, because she wanted something different when she didn't really voice that to me. She just told me she wanted a remake. And even doing a remake, I'm not going to be able to get the highlights exactly like I did the last one. The placement may be a little different. The color may come off a little different, because it might have processed different, or she might have brought me here. So you have to keep all those things in mind. I know I'm rambling a little bit, but just trying to keep up with what's going on with the screen. I think this is one of my longest videos outside of my sewing machine videos. So bear with me. Any tips you could give me, please give them to me. I'm always open for constructive criticism. I'm talking about open. I can't talk for nothing. That's horrible, y'all. I'm so sorry. So we're just gonna go back and forth between the 2 concoctions, the 30 and the 50, until we get to the top. Once we get to the top, that is when I start to weave to have a more blended look, because right now we're doing slices. So once you get to the top, that's when I will start to weave, and that's more so in the closure area is when I would do that. So once you get to that closure, that's when I would do weave pieces. I wouldn't do them as chunky, because that's what your money piece is. Your money piece is your closure. You want to do your precision and things like that in the money piece, because that's right in the front. I got that term from Cynthia Lumsey, but your front right there, that crown area, is your money piece, because that's what's going to show the most, regardless of where they parted at. So I highly suggest weaving at the top when you get to the closure. So now that we're at the top of the head, like I said, we're going to weave. So I'm going to go in a little more detail to show you how to weave. And it's really just going that zigzag motion in the part that you made. So half of it's going to be lightened, and half of it's going to be the base color hair. Now you can get a little jazzy with it and do 2 different developers. So you could get the bottom one developer, and then the top one another developer. So you kind of can play with it, be creative. Like I said before, there's no exact science. You might do something one way that you might like another. So you just kind of can play with what you want to do. As far as the color goes, it's just you want to be careful to make sure you don't have too much. Why are you gonna say that? Because chunky highlights are kind of in now, or having that big piece of color in the front or in a certain area is kind of in now. So it just kind of depends on the look that you're going for. So I wouldn't say that you want to have too much color in one area, because it won't look that bad. But if it's like in the, I want to say that's the crown area, that top part, that's like the biggest part of your head, that area you don't want too many chunky pieces, because it's going to cover everything at the bottom. So you kind of want to do the weaving at the crown of your head, because that's what shows in the back the most. Like, even though you got color at the bottom, but you got to remember all that hair is going to be covered by what's in the crown. So that's why like I said, that's the money piece. do the weaving at the top so it really can show those highlights and not just have one piece of, you know, of a color. So I do suggest keeping that in mind. So I let that process for about 30 minutes after the last piece is done. Now, you don't have to do the exact 30 minutes. You can do it to the liking of the color. You know, just watch it and see what color you like. But I did let it sit for about 30 minutes before I took my foils out and began to get it prepped for toning. So after I take my foils and rinse them real good, I'm going to use some Olaplex number 2, and I'm going to let that sit for about 15 minutes. You can do it longer if you want to. After the number 2, I go in with dish detergent. Yes, dish detergent. And I clean the hair really, really good because you want to get all that bleach and whatever residue to come out. So once we're done with that, we're going to go into toning. With this wig, I use T35 and 20 developer. Yes, we're going to use clear again because we want to run consistency. This is going to make it easier to spread throughout the hair. So if you know that your hair should be damp, the hair should not be dry when you tone hair. This is for toner, not color. Remember, toner and color are two different things. So you want something that's really, really saturated. Excuse me, don't jump in my comments, don't kill me. I should have gloves on. I know, I'm sorry. I be trying to work. And it doesn't come across the mind. So, and another thing too, is sometimes I have the hair be a little warm because you want that cuticle open. So usually you're gonna rinse this with cold water. But when you're doing this method, because I let it be wet, I do make sure the hair is a little warm or almost hot. And I let it saturate really, really good. And I let it sit for the directions of the 30 minutes. I let it sit to make sure that it's completely saturated. And then I go in with I rinse it with cool water, and then I go in with some silicone mix as the conditioner, and then voila, we have our beauty. That's all for me today, guys. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.